Okay, guys, shut up. Sorry, really, I mean, okay, folks, shut up. So, empathy. Happy I have a friendly first front. So, empathy is something I quite dislike, hate even. And I'm not talking about empathy. I'm talking about the Twitter kind, you know, the one with the hashtag and the heart emoji, the one that often, the way I see it, is used in a hostile way against people who are not empathic or are not empathic enough. But Elm is empathic, really, really empathic, and it's embedded deep down in its core. However, maybe not in the most obvious way. But I'd like to circle back to it later. Because now I'd like to talk with you about Elm from a business perspective. From the money side. But please, even if you're just a developer who doesn't care about business, don't shut yourself off. I'm not going to talk about Fortune 500 money or corrupted amount of money or some crazy Excel sheets and boring business plans. No, I'm going to talk about, you know, the good money, the one that runs your business or the one that pays your salary. The kind of money that you used in order to buy your ticket here for the conference, or the one that you're going to use in order to buy a drink to some of your buddies that you met here in the conference. So let me try and gain some trust by telling you at least my name. So my name is Amitai Burstein. Amitai is my nickname in Twitter and GitHub. I'm the CTO and co-owner of Gizra. We're a web development shop in Tel Aviv. We have headquarters in Tel Aviv, sorry. We're over 25 people, many around the globe, Canada, US, Spain, Hungary, England, and so on and so forth. And we're mostly known for our Drupal and Elm skills, and we have quite a few fancy clients. So for the past 5 years, we're developing for Harvard University their entire faculty and professor websites. We have a project with the UN. Up until recently, we had 3 projects with the European Commission, but we fired them last month, which is always much nicer to say that we fired them than we are actually working from them. And for more than 2 years, we are working with Elm. So our first application, the same one as yours, has been the counterexample. I guess there's not much business value there, but hey, we were young and we needed the money. Some technical things, because I need... yeah, I just want to show you the video. All right, so fast forward into the present, we have a web application that is used by teachers. It's kind of a PowerPoint online. Teachers are able to broadcast to their students their different slides. They are able to add different embeds and images, freehand drawing. They are able to drag and drop different images, move them. Text editor, and then a student is able to go in, and in real time the teacher is able to give them feedback, take ownership on their board, and do different work on their board. There's an online quiz, and basically the real time in the way that you would expect it to work. So that's all in Elm, Elm in front end, and the back end as Drupal. So let me just put it back here. All right, awesome. So I hope that in the recent 60 seconds I was able to establish that we are awesome developers. Now let's put it to the side because that's not important. What I'd like to concentrate is one of the biggest problems, if not the biggest problem in the IT world, and the problem is that most IT projects around the globe are failing. And when I'm saying failing, I mean they don't answer at least to one of the items in the definition of success. On item, on budget, and the customer is happy, and the way I like to call all 3 of them is the unholy trinity. And when I'm saying that it will fail, I don't mean it will not be published. I just mean it will be, you know, it will go to production later than expected, or with more money, and definitely with more frustration with everybody. And for many years, I would, in different presentations, tell how I think it should be solved by communication and setting expectation, but nowadays I think it's not the right answer. That is, this is the method, this is the technique, the mechanic of how things are done, and in fact, since 2017, I have different answers for that, and that's find and develop only the essence and time box the efforts. So find and develop only the essence, this basically means don't listen to your clients. Let's take, for example, how I make a dinner to my kids. So I know that at a point of time they can handle only fruits. So I offer them fruits. But they insist also on sandwich and pizza and pasta and salad and cake and milkshake and potato chips and that greeny, slimy thing I need to clean after them. And tortilla and biscuits and salmon. Oh boy, they really, really want salmon. And vanilla cake and some chocolate to balance it all. And they really insist. And I know it's going to end bad, but I try to be a good dad. But those small manipulative bastards, it's obvious that they really get a kick of asking that, even though it's clear that they're not going to eat any of it. And indeed, they don't eat it. And then my wife joins and starts with her accusation and going all crazy. And then I start with my accusation and I go all crazy. And I end up shouting at my wife, "You and your mother are going to take me down to my grave?" So I guess projects are a bit like that, right? I actually have in my notes, it's written, "Chill down, man." So I wrote it down to myself. So we need to serve our clients only fruits. That is only what they are really able to eat and what they are really able to afford. So, for example, here's the freehand, which I showed really, really quickly in this Unio application that we are making. So, freehand drawing, it's pretty exciting. I mean, it's in Elm, right? Freehand in Elm. And like if we're looking at the code that is responsible for that, there is actually an optimization algorithm. So after you're drawing the points, we're actually reducing some of the points, so we don't have too many points. And it's actually an implementation of an algorithm called the Rammer-Douglas-Packer. So it's not just a simple algorithm with one name, it's an algorithm with 3 names. So again, it's pretty exciting. And when I showed it to Brice, my colleague, he went something like that. Nice, but why do you need it? And why do we? I mean, have you ever seen an application like in the web that has freehand, that the shape looked proper? That a line or an arrow or a circle or rectangle wasn't better, didn't make more sense, or that the freehand didn't look a bit awkward the way it looks like that? And, you know, we worked a few good days on making that, and yet, the same day, I've opened an issue in GitHub suggesting to the client, yeah, let's go ahead and remove the freehand tool. Because, you know, it's just adding complexity to the system, but the value might actually not be there. And after opening that, a few days later, I got a picture, and I immediately regretted writing that issue, because this is from a real school, where we are able to see that the students were able to create some really nice art with that freehand tool. And I always say that you can always count on bored 13-year-old boys on the way that they find ways to abuse the different tools that we give them. So the second answer is to time box the efforts. And I go over it very quickly just to understand kind of the mindset of how we are operating in Gizro in order to make sure that projects are successful. And believe me, we've had so many projects that completely failed, and I'm saying it in the most positive way. So basically, the project is the sum of all its issues. And what we're doing, we're putting a time box on each issue. 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, not more than 12 hours, because it's really hard to give estimations for such long periods. Like 4 hours, it's a nice estimation, because, you know, it's like half of your day. And up until now, I mean, it sounds pretty trivial. Why should we give time boxing? Well, first of all, it's like kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, we're developers, all we want is sit, and nobody will talk with us, and we'll just, you know, write whatever we want to write. If we want to create a navbar menu, we can do it in 4 hours, but we could equally do it for 40 hours, right? We just think about all the different and crazy edge cases. Now, putting a time box just means that we are able to communicate what are the expectations from the issue. And up until now, it probably sounds a bit trivial. what has changed, and it took us too many years to do this change, and the non-trivial part is that we actually care more about the time boxing than actually completing the task, right? Meaning, obviously, I want the task to be finalized, but I don't want it to be done automatically. That is, when a developer realizes they're about to hit the end of the time box, then they shouldn't go over it. They should literally drop the mouse or the pen or whatever they're holding and escalate it. And the reasons could vary. Maybe they just want to, finish the fixes for the code review or add some tests. So yeah, they will probably get almost an automatic bump of 1 hour, of 2 hours, whatever they need. But sometimes it's because there's something is way more complex, and just the developer who is there, they are seeing that complexity. Or maybe the designer did something completely crazy. And the time boxing is actually a wonderful checkpoint in making sure that we're getting everything in time. And I'm sure that everybody who is sitting in the audience is pretty familiar with not being exactly on time. This is our biggest problem. And having the time boxing, and maybe it sounds a little harsh, yeah, you have to be in the time box, is a perfect mechanism in order to assure that. So, we're talking about time estimation and be exactly on time, and then we have that thing that ruins our plans, and these are bugs. Oh, bugs. I'm shaking my hand. I'm still doing that. Right? Bugs are really, really annoying, and they are very costly. In fact, they are more costly than what they may appear. So first of all, you need to fix it, right? It costs you the money. And then there is also the deadline. I mean, you're still in a deadline, but now you need to fit more work inside that deadline. And the client is disappointed. And over here, I always like to give the car mechanic example. So your car broke down, the handbrake is not working, so you're going to the garage and you ask them to fix it, and they tell you that they fixed it. You take your car, you go out at the garage, and look and behold, the handbrake is not fixed. And the question is, would you go to the same car mechanic? And the answer is most probably not. And yet, we as developers, when we screw it up, when we do it once, that's fine. But when we do the exact same mistake, we kind of expect the client to be cool with that. But obviously, they're not cool with that. So we kind of need to make sure we reduce the times this thing is happening, because we as developers, a part of disappointing the client, we as developers, we don't like to go back to that code and fixing the bugs. And as team leads or account managers, we don't like to interact with the client and tell them that we made the same mistake twice. So, how we chose Elm, let me give you a quick overview of the different projects, some of the different projects that we have in Israel, kind of in a chronological order. So the first one wasn't too fancy. It was just to interact with Elm for the first time. So according to the Israeli law, when you're coming to the office or leaving it, you need to register your hours. So we create this fancy time watch, which basically is just doing an HTTP request into our server and just posts when you came in and when you came out. And this is what just getting a first taste. And then the next thing was that I wanted to start and mimic our different Angular applications that we had. And as you can imagine, the demo application very quickly became more fun to develop and better maintained, less buggy than actual Angular application that we had in production. So you have this Hadley example, which is still on the Elm Lang homepage. And basically, we tried to mimic typical stuff that we would have. So routing and maps with leaflets and some user interaction and uploading files with drag and drop into forms and submitting them. And, after I completed it, I found myself doing almost a full rewrite. I remember sitting in the hotel just with my underwear, and I insist that you imagine it, and doing a full rewrite just to make sure that everything is like sitting in place. And I was literally half asleep. And when I completed it, and obviously the compiler was constantly barking at me, when I completed it, it was working. And that day we decided that we're going to stick only to Elm for our front end. So you saw Unio before, this web application that, by the way, you'll be able to register and try the application yourself. This is another project. This is actually an entrepreneur project that we have. It's called Circuit Auction. It's meant for auction houses, allow them that their clients would be able to place bids on different items, and basically we are rewriting this in Elm in order to change the existing Angular application. And we actually reached the point that not having Elm in one of our sites is kind of hard. So even in our Gizra.com site, if you navigate there through a desktop, not through the mobile, you'll see this nifty little app. Is it needed? It's not. But hey, just matter to make it a little more playful than the usual boring theme page. And this is actually Elm embedded in a Jekyll site. Coming from a strong Drupal backend, it made sense that the next step would be having what we call a hybrid site. That is, this is a Drupal site. It's a municipality project. It's meant for different municipalities. They are able on the same site to create their own mini sites. In different, it's a multi-language site in Hebrew, Arabic, and English. So what we have over here is Drupal is actually serving the page, the entire page, like the header that you're seeing, this is Drupal, the entire interaction on top is Drupal, but down below, we are able to see different contact information of different personnel in their municipality. So Drupal is actually sending, also to the JavaScript, sending the raw JSON with the information about the right personnel in the right language, plus telling which language I want to see it. And then with Elm, I'm able to render that raw JSON and easily filter it. And the translation of the content is being done by Drupal because it's a wonderful CMS. It's taking care of multilingual and the content repository and user repository and whatnot. But for the actual static translation inside the Elm application itself, we're doing it in a type-safe manner. When we started porting this Hadley example that you've seen earlier, we kind of ended up doing this Drupal Elm Starter. And even if you're not dealing with Drupal, I encourage you to have a look at the starter kits, at least for the Elm part and the different configuration. This is basically a codified knowledge base of all the different applications that we're building, and we are putting it there. So definitely answering the most heard question in the Elm chat rooms, how to structure a big application. This is one of the answers. It's not a big application, but it's already structured as if it was a big application. Authentication, routing, type-safe linking, pusher integration for real-time, and some fancy Travis integration that runs your Elm unit test along with WebDriver I/O. And if one of your WebDriver I/O tests fails, then our handy Gizra robot would make sure to save the video of only that failing test and submitting a comment on your GitHub issue. So, I'm happy you are excited the same way that I am. So, why is Elm good for your business? So, there are all the evident and obvious reasons. The compiler reduces your cognitive load, so you're not afraid of constantly adding new stuff and polishing old ones. And it has a community of developers. Obviously, it's much less than React, but it seems that the ratio of experience, seniority, and very importantly, availability is also very high. But there are also the not obvious reasons and example. Like, I really love this cookie example that Richard and Evan have worked on. So they really researched the topic. They went in. They bothered on actually coding only just to leave a big disclaimer saying, don't use it, for one good reason, there is a better way. And there is another package, the Focus, which is kind of lenses if you're coming from a Haskell background. Again, researched, developed, even published, but basically saying, don't use it, because if you find yourself using it, then it probably means you have a much bigger problem in how you're structuring your data. Or the final example, which is removing this confusing exclamation mark, which just it didn't help the developers. Again, if you're talking about cognitive load, they were like, hey, why is that exclamation mark? What is it doing? And I'm giving those examples because it is so rare to see such example. I mean, it's so brave to do something in one version and then the next version say, yeah, I just got it wrong, let's fix it. And it's so mature having those examples of, really thinking through. And even after you're coding something, you say, hey, maybe it shouldn't have been coded, or at least should not be used. So, what is next? For me in Gizra, it's getting more clients and projects, and as a result, getting more Elm developer. And funny that I mentioned that because we are indeed looking for Elm developers in Gizra. And for you, what is next for you? So obviously, I don't really know because I don't know most of you. But this is what I can suggest. So if you are not the owners of the business, or you are not the ones that are making the final decision, then I encourage you to just go directly to the owners, to the decision makers. Go to the room, kick their door, bang the table and tell them, listen, guys, listen, folks. Let me cut to the chase. You are losing money, or at least you are not earning as much as you could and should. With Elm, you'll get quicker results, less bugs, less stress on the developers, and getting new talent isn't going to be harder than your current situation. Then you can slowly step out, maybe add some bows, maybe a crazy laugh, something like that. And obviously, the last part is not mandatory. It's just to make extra sure that their reaction is, what the fuck did just happen? But honestly, what can happen from using Elm is something that is even harder than improving your company's profit. What can happen is that you, your boss, your colleagues, your users, maybe even just people surrounding you, will simply become happier. Thank you very much.
Amitai, do you have questions? Yeah. Yes,
did you have some time to convince directly your clients to use Elm, or is it a hidden thing for them?
Yes. They know about it. Like my sales pitch would include the word Drupal maybe, and maybe the word Elm, because in my perspective, when I have a client, they don't really care, like again, the mechanic example, I don't really care how he fixed they fixed my handbrake as long as it's being done. So I think there is a thing that whenever you have a client, they're already trusting you to find them the best solution. And I don't need to tell them how immutability is so important for them. They don't care about it. They just want it delivered on time and on budget.
Thank you.
Nobody else? Nobody wants to do business with Elm. What?
My crazy laugh? All right. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Amitai.